Good morning, students and readers, or good afternoon or good evening. Hi, I am delighted today to be here with Mike Tholfsen of Microsoft, he's going to tell you a little bit about the work that he does there, as well as his title. And we're going to be sharing some pretty exciting opportunities for you and the learners you serve, as Mike talks about the projects he's been involved in fairly recently. So Mike, welcome. Could you tell us a
Hey,
little bit about what you're doing?
sure. Well, I work on the Microsoft education team and I'm a product manager, so I do a lot with figuring out how we're going to build things and our roadmap, and I work with our engineering team, but I also work a lot with educators, students, administrators, librarians, all sorts of people. And specifically part of my role is I work on OneNote in education, but what I've been spending a lot of my time on these days, and maybe some of more of the focus of today's talk, is what we call the inclusive classroom. And so what does that mean? Well, we really focus on making education products and services available to students of all abilities, and that's across reading, writing, math, and communication. And we really use the philosophy of inclusive design on a lot of our products. So, for example, we do a lot of work around focusing on helping students with dyslexia, but using inclusive design, that's going to help English language learners, emerging readers, people with vision impairments, ADHD, and mainstream students. So we try to make it such that these built-in and mainstream non-stigmatizing technologies can work for all students. And so that's a really big focus. And again, because Microsoft is a large company and we have a lot of scale, what's nice is that these are all languages, they're all platforms. Pretty much everything you're going to see today that I show is free. A lot of people, unfortunately, think Microsoft means pay lots of money. It's actually as free can be. And also what's nice is it's often available at the home or at school both. So it kind of works in both places. Or work. I mean, because when you leave school, it turns out many of the same supports you might need in school, if it's used in the workforce, it's available there too.
So Mike, I think this is especially exciting for librarians, as you mentioned.
My mom was a librarian, by the way, for like 40 years. Woo! Go
Oh,
librarians!
oh, yay. I want to hear more about her afterwards. Really, I am really curious. I didn't know that. Because as you know from your mom and others, that when a librarian knows about an important tool for learners, that then it's possible for him or her to share that with the classrooms who need it most, the teachers who need it most, to do the professional development, and also to connect with parents, with PTAs, PTOs, stakeholder groups, special education teachers, because the influence is whole school, life-wide as well as lifelong. And to also, I think one of the important things that we'll see about these tools is that, yes, they can be introduced by the teacher, and yes, they can be used independently by the learner who understands his or her needs and the accommodations that can carry them through beyond the classroom or beyond one particular grade or subject area or discipline. So I've been playing around with some of these resources, and I am truly, I feel like this is stuff we've been waiting for a long time. So I'm eager to see you give us a little bit of a tour. That'd be great if that's what you're interested in.
Sure, yeah, and just actually the background, what I'll do is I'll share my screen, but the background is maybe a little interesting too as to how and why we developed these tools. And initially they really came, and I was part of the original team that helped build these. They were part of something that's called a hackathon at Microsoft. And that's where for 1 week out of the year, you can work on anything you want with any people you want across the company, any passion project, and the idea is to create something new. And I joined a team. We had a speech pathologist, we had reading PhD experts, we had some accessibility people, researchers. I was on the engineering team. And we said, what if we took the latest science and research around reading, but we focus inclusively on dyslexia as our core customer type, with the hypothesis being if we really use these techniques that are known to focus on dyslexia with inclusive design, that will likely help all sorts of people beyond just the people we may have designed it for initially, if that makes sense.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so that little tool was a few years ago, and I worked with the team, and we took that tool and built it with just an add-in initially, and it sort of barely worked. But now we've built it more and more and more into all sorts of our products, and now it's much more mainstream, and it's built into everything you're going to see today. Let me just close this window here. So here, for example, so Joyce, I know that you probably know this, but not everyone knows this. I'm in the free version. You probably heard of Microsoft Word, right? Have you heard of Word? Is that one you've heard of?
I think we all have, yes.
Okay, just checking. Now, you might not have known there's an absolutely free version of Word in the browser available today and has been for a while. Any school, any home, the free version of Word, it co-authors, it does all the things that modern word processors do. But what it has is, I've gone to the View tab on Word, so here I am, and there's this button called the Immersive Reader, and I'm going to click it, and I'll walk through what we're going to see. And now, first off, you can see we abstract a lot of the user interface, and we call this focus mode. So we reduce distractions. If I click the play button down here, it's going to read it out loud.
The study of Earth's landforms is called physical geography. Landforms can be mounted.
So it has text-to-speech and word and line highlighting, which is not necessarily revolutionary, but this is now built in and just part of Word, and it's free. It's mainstream. Anyone can use it. I can change the voice speed, faster or slower. I can choose a male or female voice really easily. Pretty standard stuff. I can also go and I can change the way the page looks. And so in this case, I'm going to, for example, there's research around something called visual crowding. And if I increase spacing, the research will show for some people that can reduce visual crowding. So if I click increase spacing, I've made that spacing between line and letters and words a little bit bigger. I can change the background color really easy. Some people will prefer different background colors when they're reading. And so these are tuned specifically for accessibility. So it's really easy to choose different background colors like that. Then I can also make the text much bigger. So people with visual impairments, maybe students with dyslexia, early readers, emerging readers, practicing sight words, I can have that nice and big. Again, these are just changing the way the text looks. But now we're going to get into some of the fun stuff. So I'm going to click on grammar options here in the upper right. And, you know, as a librarian and many educators out there, you've probably done things like maybe teaching syllables where you clap and you go syllables like that. Or maybe you take sticky notes and help break the words into syllables with sticky notes. So for an educator, that's time consuming. For a student, that can be stigmatizing if you've called out that student and pulled them into the back or the corner of the library and you're focusing just on them. Well, now using our cloud technologies, if I click syllables with a single click here, it breaks those words into syllables independently. So the student gets independence and the teacher gets time back, or the librarian. I can highlight all the nouns on the page with a single click. So parts of speech highlighting is built in. I can highlight the verbs on the page. I can highlight adjectives. And I can even highlight adverbs, because I like to sort of say the adverb doesn't really get enough respect in this world. So I like to make sure the adverbs get respect too. And you can change the colors. So some people might prefer different colors. It's easy to customize. So maybe you're colorblind. Maybe you can't detect reds or greens, or maybe you can't detect any colors. You can even click on this show labels, where we put a little visual indicator right above. So it's nice for any type of person who might be trying to pull out the different parts of speech. So those things are, again, all just built in and part of the Immersive Reader. The last couple things I'll show, and again, I'm guessing librarians all over the world know about the reading ruler. It's where you cut out a little rectangle in a piece of paper and you slap it over the page, so just a little window shows, and then the student can move that down so they're just looking at 1 or 2 lines at a time. Could be good for students with dyslexia, students with ADHD. It might be good for students who have cerebral palsy. We've had many students with cerebral palsy use these capabilities. So if I go here and I click on line focus, I basically get a reading ruler. And like that, I get the ability to focus on one line. I can hit play.
Sometimes called physical features. It is important for students to know about the physical.
I can choose 3 lines or I can choose 5 lines. Again, that customizing it so it makes sense for me. I'll turn that off now. The last couple things I'll show with the Immersive Reader. We also have a picture dictionary. So I click on a word and I get a picture. And then
Earth.
I can hear it when I play it.
Earth.
So I can
Earth.
see the word, can hear the word. I can look at their syllables for that word. And there's a picture as well.
Mountains.
So really easy
Valleys. Valleys. Valleys.
to get that picture representation. Now, we also know that there's many non-native speakers. Sometimes in the US they're called English language learners. But in this case, I'm going to go and I'm going to turn on translation because we have translation in over 60 different languages here. And so I'm going to choose Spanish and I'm going to turn it on by word, meaning now I'm going to have a Spanish picture dictionary. So I click on and I see Earth.
Earth.
And we can switch the voice in real time to Spanish.
Tierra. 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 Earth. Tierra.
So it allows me to compare and contrast really easily. And I can then translate the entire document. So if I click on document, everything in this document, and I'm going to give it a black background so you can see really well here, everything changes. So syllables, nouns, verbs, adjectives, parts of speech, all those things change, including the entire read aloud voice.
El estudio de las formas terrestres de la Tierra se llama geografía física.
And I can go to the original document, English, and the little top flippers here, I can go back to Spanish again. So incredibly powerful. And again, this is just in boring old free version of Word. This is the View tab Immersive Reader. That entire set of capabilities is built in. And it's not just in Word. It's in OneNote Online, which is free. It's in Flipgrid, which I know you're a fan of. It's built into Teams. Like if you pull up Flipgrid, I'm just going to show briefly. And we've made this available to many partners recently. Here's Flipgrid, and there's a little Immersive Reader button next to any little topic in Flipgrid. And if I click that, you might not have ever seen it. I get that full Immersive Reader that we were just showing. It's built right into Flipgrid. And now it's built into places like Wakelet and Buncee, Nearpod, and ThingLink. So we've made the Immersive Reader go beyond just things like Word and OneNote and Teams and Flipgrid, but now it's available in third parties as well that we're working with. So I did a lot of demoing and talking there. I'll give it a break and happy to answer questions you have or thoughts or feedback.
Yeah, this is really a game changer in my mind. I'm so excited. I mean, I see such value for the groups of learners that you mentioned, and I know these kids, and I also know how many new families we've got in our school communities, and I don't know something's happening with my lip. I'm going to cut this. So I also know the value of how this would be for so many of our new families in our community. So as we play, until you become partners with all the various different databases and ebook platforms that we have, we can grab blocks of text and put the text in OneNote or in Word, and then offer features so that the students can read on an equal playing field with the students for whom English is a first language. And that word needs to be spread literally across our school communities. And I can also see how valuable this could be as an instructional tool on a whiteboard for lessons in skills and decoding, and so I see it being so open-ended and so valuable that I absolutely want to spread the word, and also to thank you guys for providing this as a free service to the learners of the world. I just did want to ask you, because in some cases the translations that I've encountered have not. I'm not one to judge but by speakers of the language haven't been as adequate as they felt they should be. How adequate are the language translations?
Well, I would say that's something. What I always joke is that whatever you're seeing today is the worst it's going to be, because every day it gets a little bit better, because we're constantly improving. But actually, we have very high quality translation. It's come a long ways, especially in the past couple of years. We've got some of the
connected to Microsoft Translator.
Yeah, it is. It uses the exact same technology.
I'm in love with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Translate briefly and or show the real-time translation
Would
through
you please?
PowerPoint.
I would love that. Yeah, that'd be
Oh
great.
yeah. I'll switch to that next. The one thing I want to mention though, because especially this is a great story I want to tell a librarian story about this next feature, because what you see here is a picture from a book. I've got OneNote up, and also a program called Office Lens, which is a free app for
Oh,
iPads or
wait a minute.
Android.
Are you talking OCR?
Yes.
Oh my
So,
God.
so this is a picture that I pasted into OneNote, right? Any picture you can put into OneNote. I click Immersive Reader, and it runs OCR automatically. So everything I just showed is in here, including Translate. So I'm going to go and give us some Spanish Harry Potter and read that out loud.
So the optical character recognition.
Yep, it runs it automatically. So this is a page of text. Universal access of content is the way I like to explain it, which is any picture, anywhere, any book, you put it in here, or you can take a picture with the Office Lens app.
Right.
So if you take a picture in Office Lens, it sends it to Immersive Reader. And so we have kids that will take an iPad into the library. We had a struggling 14-year-old, I was relayed this story, read it about a second, maybe third grade level, and super frustrated, and he'd mostly given up on trying to read. And they gave him the iPad with the Office Lens and a pair of earbuds, and independently, in a non-stigmatizing way, he would go into the library and start snapping pictures of books, and using OCR in real time with the iPad and earbuds, he would start using Read Aloud, start using the spacing and the color features and some of the other things. And he started independently, slowly building his skills, and a positive feedback loop kicked in. And he really took off from there. Now he's reading full-on books and chapter books, and he's moved forward. But the sort of breaking the negative feedback cycle was that independence and the technology together, I think.
That's fabulous. This is really, truly a game changer. So any piece of text that we can take a little picture of can be part of this experience.
Yep. And this is free, and this works in Word or OneNote and the web. It works on OneNote for iPad, Mac, PC, wherever you want. But the thing I mentioned, I'll just show this briefly because it's incredibly powerful.
So
Lens
is now part of Translate. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the translation is not only in Microsoft Translator, it's also in PowerPoint. And it's free, and it's in the web. So again, if you're using Chromebooks, no problem. It works in the web. It works on Mac. It works on PC. So I'm going to go here and launch PowerPoint. I don't have a headset on, so I'm just going to get closer to the mic to make sure it comes through. But there's this little button here that's going to start captioning. And at the bottom of the screen, it'll be captioning in Spanish. So I'm speaking in English, and in real time, it's captioning and translating everything I'm saying into Spanish. And I can go through my slides and talk about different things, and it can be giving the subtitles in Spanish, essentially. And we support over 60 languages, so we go well beyond Spanish. And it's incredibly powerful technology to engage and include your audience. And this is just with PowerPoint. As you probably know, with Microsoft Translator, you can have parents, and we do have parents, connect up with their phones in over 10 languages.
And that's
so. For example, have you seen that happen, or have you seen examples of that?
Yeah, I've written about it in 2 incantations, I think. But it's powerful. It's real time. It changes the way we communicate with parents and the way we're able to reach out. And I think for librarians, this is huge. So,
yeah.
And for, to introduce this to teachers, and we're serving such diverse communities these days, it's really important that we include the parents in the school community. And this is just a fabulous resource. And it's a resource that parents can use to feel more power in terms of their child and the school experience that they're advocating for their child. So,
yeah. What I'll do, Joyce, is after we're done, I've got a public PowerPoint deck that has everything we do, all these free technologies. I will give it to you. I'll give you the PowerPoint copy and the PDF copy. And so if your folks out there want to know more about Translator, how to get started, their free PD and online and all that information, or Immersive Reader or speech to text, well, I have a full publicly available PowerPoint and PDF that anyone can use and share in their district, try out these tools, try out any of the technologies.
Mike, this is fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I will include that in both my blog post and in the sharing that I do with our students. So thanks a million. I'm going to end our recording right now. And students, I hope you really dig into this. This is just a game changer. Thanks.